I think there's something primal about being near the water. There's a calming influence of the water, and I've taken to walking along the water for that calm. In addition to the sheer joy of being outdoors and seeing the birds and occasionally fish. You know, often there will be fish churning up the water and jumping, and I wound up on some mailing list and learned that MIRA, the Mystic River Watershed Association, was looking for volunteers to do what they called citizen science. And since I see myself as a scientist in my dreams, I signed up for that and started collecting water samples down at Alewife Brook.
Snaps.
So I'd say it's going to be no odor.
This is for temperature only.
The temperature one first so that the thermometer has a chance to adjust. As long as we've got the big snap ring on, we do the big bottle next, and then in decreasing order. It's been going on for about a year and a half. That's the only place I've collected is at Alewife Brook. And my partner in that effort, Bill Eikamp, evidently has been collecting samples for 10 years, so I feel like a mere pup.
I probably missed 3 times in 10 years. So I'm really nuts. Now here's my philosophy on why I should do this and why Elliot should do it, and why someone your age shouldn't do it. This is a polluted site. There are many things that can happen, but they all have a very long induction time. I will be dead of something else before what I get here can kill me. All right, now we do chemistry.
The science more is just the process. The idea of taking the same kind of samples at the same time, at the same place.
It was 6 at my house, so that's about right.
Using a consistent methodology so that, eliminating all the variables except for what's happened over the last month. And the rigor of that is interesting to me. I do try to read the results. There's so much variation in the readings that we get that it's difficult for me to see trends and make generalizations based on what we see. The rest of it, quite frankly, I don't know what all is monitored. Our sampling space is at Alewife Brook,
Yeah.
which is probably a quarter of a mile, maybe a little more, upstream of the Mystic River. We dropped the samples off at MIRA.
This morning we had our baseline program, and it happens on the 3rd Wednesday of every month for the Upper Mystic, and we also have the Lower Mystic that happens sometime in the month depending on the tide. And we have samples that are collected from the Mystic River as well as the Aberjona and Alewife Brook. So we had a number of people go out this morning between 6 and 8 a.m. and they come here to drop off their samples. We have a monitor who's working in our lab right now to analyze the DO, and we have another monitor who works in the office, so she's here welcoming everybody, and we have something called the chain of custody.
And still have to fill out the chain of custody.
Chain of custody, right.
And here's one.
Okay. I state your name, do hereby swear or affirm.
Oh, yeah.
Volunteers sample dissolved oxygen in the field and they fix the oxygen using chemicals, and then they bring them in here. And since it's an analysis that needs to be done immediately, or at least very quickly, we do them in the office here. Changes the color, and that's why it's a colorimetric test. So I'm just going through the EPA compliance right now, which involves, it checks the chemicals that we're using for the tests on the actual samples to show that it's calibrated correctly and that we can get accurate data.
And then from then, these samples get driven by another volunteer to Deer Island. It's the MWRA water treatment facility, and they have a lab there, and there they support us by analyzing our samples for E. coli and nutrients such as total phosphorus and nitrite, and conductivity and total suspended solids. The data, we use that to scout spots for doing our hotspot sampling. So from that, we might focus on a very specific area in a river or within the water body or in the watershed, and we use that data to find any problems that might be happening in case there's any contamination from bacteria. And if we find any issues, we alert the city and we let them know that we may have found a problem with the high bacteria, and we give them 30 days notice, and at which point we share that data as well with the DEP and the EPA. And then we work with the cities to help them improve their water bodies. And the whole thing happens again next month, and we do this 12 months of the year, year-round, with our great, generous volunteers who go out.
Well, no, you can take my photo. I'm known to be very photogenic.
When?
40 years ago.
Got that problem too.
I live upstream of this body of water. I live about 3 bodies of water upstream, and I watch it every day, and I'm very concerned about the fact that as we urbanize, we have far more of the water goes immediately into the water body, which means that the nutrients that would get absorbed if it came down through trees and grass don't. And we have overflows from sewers that were put in 100 years ago, people thinking, hey, that's a good way to do it. Turns out it's not. These problems are very expensive to fix. Doing this is critical because we need a long-term data. You go out and get one sample, nobody believes you. When you get 10 years, they can't ignore it. We have good data and we have good longitudinal data, and that's how you do good science and how we can get these problems understood and maybe controlled. And we have our gloves on.
Indeed we do.
Please show the folks back home we are wearing gloves.
So 7:10 then?
It's nice and tight. You made it nice and tight. I'm not going to drop the bottle.
No,
in front
you're
of the
safe.
camera.
You're safe.
I just dropped the bottle in front of the camera.
Oh, no, you didn't.
And we lost the little black gizmo.
Oh, no, you're not kidding.
We have had our first ever disaster just for you. There goes our sample bottle.
There goes the bottle.
Holy Toledo. I have been doing this 10 years and we have never ever dropped a bottle. We can't stand an audience.